Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, dark ocean, its waves churning, whispering secrets you don't understand. The water is ink black, stretching beyond the horizon, endless and unfathomable. You can feel its pull, something deep within you responding to the tide as if it's calling your name. And yet, you hesitate. Something inside you recoils, not from fear of drowning, but from fear of discovering what lies beneath. What if the ocean isn't just water? What if it's you? What if, buried under layers of doubt, fear, and self-imposed limitations, there exists a version of you so powerful, so utterly boundless, that facing it would shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself? And what if, despite everything, you are terrified of becoming that person? The paradox of fear and greatness. Society has trained you to believe that fear is meant for the unknown, the dangerous, the external. We fear failure, rejection, death, things that lurk beyond our control. But what if the greatest fear isn't of something outside of us, but something within? Carl Jung once spoke of the shadow, the part of ourselves we suppress, the desires, emotions, and impulses we exile to the darkest recesses of our minds. But what if there is something else, something even more unsettling than the shadow? What if your deepest fear is not that you are weak, but that you are far stronger than you ever imagined? Not that you are incapable, but that you are capable beyond measure? Not that you are small, but that the only thing keeping you from towering over the world is the fragile illusion of safety you have clung to your entire life? The weight of the unlived life. Think of all the moments where you almost took a leap but stopped. The business you never started, the art you never created, the words you never spoke. Think of the times you were on the precipice of something greater, something that would have changed everything, but a silent, invisible force held you back. Why? Why do we sabotage ourselves at the brink of transformation? Why do we stay in the shallows when we could dive into the abyss and emerge something far greater? The answer is simple yet devastating. Because we fear what we might become. Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." But what if the greatest burden you must bear is your own unlived life? The version of yourself you were meant to become, but never did. The question that haunts you: you are not afraid of failure. Failure is comfortable. It gives you an excuse to stay where you are. It allows you to remain unseen, unchallenged, unbroken. What truly terrifies you is success, real success. The kind that forces you to shed your old self like dead skin and step into something vast and unfamiliar. Because success means transformation, and transformation means death. The death of who you were, the death of old comforts, the death of the small, manageable life you once accepted as good enough. So, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped running from your own power? What would happen if you stopped fearing your own potential more than you fear failure? And more importantly, what has this fear already cost you? The hidden problem and its psychological chains, the invisible chains. You cannot see. You wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, go about your routine. The world moves as it always does, predictable, safe, structured. But beneath the surface, something pulls at you, a restlessness, a sense that you were meant for something more, but for reasons you cannot explain, you hesitate. Why? Why do you resist your own potential, even when it calls to you? Why do you watch your dreams from behind a glass wall, touching the surface but never breaking through? The truth is, this hesitation is not accidental. It has been engineered. For centuries, society has shaped human beings into obedient, self-doubting creatures, careful not to upset the balance, careful not to rise too high. It tells you to be humble, be cautious, stay in line. It whispers that greatness is reserved for the chosen few. that you are safer in the shadows. But safer from what? The fear rooted in the deep mind. Carl Jung believed that within each of us exists a force far greater than our conscious mind, a hidden world, an abyss where all our suppressed instincts, dreams, and fears reside. He called it the collective unconscious, the vast reservoir of ancient memories, archetypes, and primal emotions that shape us. But within that abyss, something is buried deeper still, something that has been suffocated for so long that we mistake its silence for non-existence. Jung called it the self, the fully realized version of who you are meant to become. And here lies the paradox. You crave this self, but you also fear it. Because to embrace it, you must face what Jung called individuation, the terrifying process of stepping beyond social conditioning, beyond fear, beyond comfort. And most people? They run. Nietzsche's warning, the price of playing small. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this fear well. He spoke of the Übermensch, the higher self that transcends mediocrity, shatters convention, and creates its own path. But he also knew why so few ever reach this state. Because it demands a total death of the old self. Think about it. Every great thinker, every revolutionary, every titan of history, Nietzsche, Jung, Da Vinci, Tesla, Einstein, had to walk the path of exile. They had to abandon the safety of the familiar, challenge the gods of their time, and become something else entirely. Most people cannot bear this weight. Instead, they choose the herd mentality, Nietzsche's term for the masses who reject greatness in favor of comfort. The herd does not want you to rise. It does not want you to become something beyond it. And so, it conditions you. It tells you, stay small, fit in, do not dream too big, do not rise above your station. Because if you did, if you truly unleashed your potential, you would no longer be one of them. And that terrifies people more than anything. Schopenhauer's trap, the will that binds you. Arthur Schopenhauer had another name for this invisible force. He called it the will, the blind, unconscious drive that keeps humans locked in cycles of fear and limitation. According to him, most people live in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always wanting more but never truly acting to attain it. Why? Because the will does not want you to be free. It wants you to stay locked in the illusion of control, endlessly chasing distractions, afraid to break the cycle. You tell yourself you will write that book, but you never do. You tell yourself you will start that project, but you always find a reason to wait. You tell yourself you will step into your power, but then life happens. This is not an accident. It is the silent weight of the will, pressing down on you, keeping you bound. The true cost of denial. Here is the brutal truth. Every day you do not step into your potential, a part of you dies. The self that could have been, the ideas that could have changed everything, the life that was waiting for you, if only you had the courage to reach for it. And the worst part? You will never know what you lost, because you never allowed yourself to see it in the first place. You think you are avoiding failure, but what you are truly avoiding is your own transformation, the rising pressure and the breaking point. But here's the thing, no matter how much you suppress it, your potential does not disappear. It waits, it lingers in the background, growing heavier with every year that passes. And one day, whether you like it or not, it will demand to be seen. The question is, will you answer? Or will you let it slip through your fingers, becoming just another ghost in the vast cemetery of unlived lives? The unseen consequences, the slow erosion of the self. Imagine a man who wakes up every morning with a distant ache in his chest, a feeling he cannot name, but one that follows him everywhere. He goes to work, nods at his colleagues, laughs at the same jokes, pretends everything is fine. But when he looks in the mirror at night, something is missing. A spark that once burned brightly is now reduced to embers. He cannot pinpoint the moment it happened, but over the years, piece by piece, something inside him was buried alive. And here is the terrifying truth. This is how most people die, long before their bodies ever do. Not with a dramatic moment of realization, not with some grand tragedy, but with a slow, silent erosion of the self, a quiet suffocation of the person they were meant to become. And by the time they notice, it is often too late. The invisible prison, how you are controlled without realizing it. Everywhere you look, you see it. The artist who never creates because the world convinced him he wasn't good enough. The entrepreneur who never starts because she was told to choose security over risk. The thinker who suppresses his ideas out of fear that they will be rejected. And maybe, most painfully, you. You were born with an untamed force inside you, a limitless potential to shape your world. But over time, society trained you to suppress it. From childhood, you were given a script. Follow the rules. Don't question too much. Stay in your lane. Be realistic. At first, you resisted. You imagined yourself doing incredible things, becoming someone who mattered. But every time you expressed this, someone, a parent, a teacher, a friend, looked at you with doubt, with amusement, with quiet dismissal. And so, little by little, you began to shrink. Not physically, but mentally. You learned that standing out was dangerous, that ambition was arrogant, that reaching too high would only set you up for disappointment. And before you even realized it, you had stepped into an invisible prison of limitation. One where the bars were made not of steel, but of beliefs. A prison where you are free to move, free to exist, but never truly live. The psychological cost, living in the shadow of what could have been. Jung called it the pain of the unlived life. It is not the same as regret. Regret is sharp. It comes from a single decision you wish you had made differently. But the pain of the unlived life, it is heavier. It is the weight of all the choices you never made, all the risks you never took, all the versions of yourself that died before they had the chance to be born. It is waking up at 40, 50, 60 years old and realizing that the person you could have been is now nothing more than a ghost, an echo of a path never taken. It is looking back on your life and realizing that your greatest enemy was never the world, it was you. The comfort trap. Why safety is the ultimate poison. The world has convinced you that comfort equals happiness, but that is a lie. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. It lulls you into complacency. It sedates your hunger for more. It tricks you into believing that existence is the same as living. And yet, people spend their entire lives chasing it. The perfect job, the perfect house, the perfect routine. But then something happens. One day, you wake up and realize that everything is too predictable, too small, too lifeless. You were not meant to just exist. You were meant to conquer, to create, to transcend. And yet, because you chose comfort over growth, you now live in a world of stagnation. The same people, the same conversations, the same predictable path, over and over again. And the worst part? You did this to yourself. The subconscious rebellion, when the soul refuses to stay silent. But here is the thing. No matter how much you try to silence it, your potential never truly dies. It lingers beneath the surface, waiting. And when it is ignored for too long, it begins to rebel. This is why you feel restless. This is why you feel anxious, empty, disconnected. This is why no matter how much you distract yourself, through entertainment, through work, through relationships, there is still an ache deep inside you that never fully goes away. Because it is your soul screaming for more. It is the self you abandoned, demanding to be heard. And you can either listen to it now, while there is still time to change, or you can wait until it is too late. The breaking point. Will you escape or be consumed? There comes a moment in every life when the weight of the unlived self becomes unbearable. For some, this moment comes early, a sudden realization that they are wasting their potential, leading them to break free. For others, it comes too late, a slow, creeping awareness that their time is almost gone, and the person they were meant to become will never see the light of day. And for the rest, they never realize it at all. They simply wake up one day, old and tired, with no more dreams left to kill. And the world moves on, never knowing what could have been. So now, the question is yours to answer. Will you break free from the unseen forces that have held you back? Or will you let them consume you, leaving behind nothing but a whisper of the person you could have been? The rebellion. How to break free. The moment of revolt. Imagine this. One night, you sit alone in the silence of your room, staring at the walls that have surrounded you for years. The air feels thick, as if pressing down on you, suffocating you with the weight of time. Something inside you stirs, a feeling so raw, so undeniable that it demands to be acknowledged. A truth that has always been there, waiting for the moment you would finally see it. This is not your life. This is a script you have been following, written by people who never knew your true potential. A reality built not by choice, but by compromise. And in this moment, you realize something terrifying. You have been your own captor all along. But if you have been the captor, then you can also be the liberator. Destroying the old self. The first act of war. Jung believed that in order to become whole, you must first face your shadow. The hidden, suppressed parts of yourself that you have long rejected. And here is the paradox. You fear your own power, but you also long for it. You want to rise, but you fear what it will cost you. So, you hold yourself back, not because you lack potential, but because true transformation requires the death of who you are now. And death, even metaphorical, is terrifying. But here is the truth. No one tells you. Your old self must die before your real self can be born. That means destroying the comfort zones that have sedated you, letting go of the excuses you have used to justify your inaction, accepting that growth is painful and there is no way around it. To break free, you must be willing to burn the bridges behind you, to cut away the safety nets, the easy exits, the familiar routines that keep you trapped. Because only when there is no way back will you finally move forward. The art of self-sabotage. Why you must overcome yourself first. Most people do not fail because the world holds them back. They fail because they sabotage themselves before they even begin. Every time you hesitate, every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," every time you let fear dictate your choices, you are the one pulling yourself back into the cage. And it is not because you are weak. It is because your mind is addicted to certainty. Your brain does not want you to change. It does not want you to step into the unknown. It wants to keep you safe, even if that means keeping you small. This is why so many people start a new path, only to retreat the moment things become difficult, the moment they feel discomfort, doubt, or struggle. Their mind screams for them to return to safety, and most obey. But the ones who do not, they are the ones who break free. Because they understand one thing. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is the sign you are finally breaking through. The mindset shift that changes everything. Here is the radical shift that will set you apart from everyone else. You must stop fearing failure and start fearing stagnation. Fear waking up in the same place 5 years from now. Fear never knowing what you were capable of. Fear becoming a person who looks back with regret, knowing they played it safe. Because failure is not the enemy. Failure is proof that you are in motion, that you are fighting, that you are refusing to be another forgotten name in the endless sea of the ordinary. The ones who rise, they are the ones who refuse to accept a life that does not belong to them. The ritual of rebirth, reclaiming control. So, what now? How do you break free in real time? Not in theory, not in abstract ideas, but in action. You begin with rituals of rebellion, small, deliberate acts that defy the version of yourself that kept you trapped. Wake up earlier than you ever have before. Beat the version of you that sleeps in. Speak the words you have been too afraid to say. Defy the version of you that stays silent. Create something. Write, build, design, innovate. Destroy the version of you that only consumes. Take one terrifying step toward the life you actually want. Dismantle the version of you that hesitates. Every act of rebellion chips away at the old self, forcing the new self to emerge. And day by day, something changes. Not in an instant, not with a single moment of clarity, but with relentless, unforgiving action. The ones who break free, what sets them apart? History is littered with those who dared to defy their own limitations. They were not always the smartest. They were not always the most talented, but they were the boldest. Nietzsche wrote, despite being rejected and misunderstood. Jung explored the depths of the mind, despite the world calling him insane. Leonardo da Vinci created endlessly, refusing to be confined to one path. The difference between them and everyone else? They refused to stop. They understood something most people never do, that everything they wanted, power, freedom, meaning, was on the other side of fear, and they chose to walk through it. Your choice. Will you walk the path? So, now the choice is yours. You can remain where you are, trapped in the cycle of hesitation, watching your potential slip through your fingers. Or you can begin the rebellion. You can stop waiting, stop wishing, stop believing that someday it will just happen. And instead, you can move. Because your greatest enemy has never been the world. It has always been you. And the moment you stop waiting for permission to break free, that is the moment you finally do. The ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization, the final revelation, why you were afraid all along. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast abyss. Behind you lies everything you have ever known. Your old self, your past limitations, the familiar weight of mediocrity. Ahead of you, nothing, just the unknown. A space so vast, so limitless, that it terrifies you. Because for the first time, there are no barriers, no excuses, no walls to confine you. And then, it hits you. A realization so unsettling, so unexpected, that it almost knocks you back. You were never afraid of failure. You were afraid of what would happen if you actually succeeded. The terror of true power. Carl Jung once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And now you understand why. Because the moment you embrace your true potential, when you step beyond the comfort of limitation, you can never go back. The illusion shatters. You can no longer blame circumstances. You can no longer pretend you are powerless. You see it now. You were never a victim. You were never stuck. The chains you thought bound you, they were never real. And now, the weight of responsibility crashes down on you. Because once you know you are capable of more, you have two choices. Accept it, step into your power, and embrace the unknown. Deny it, retreat into old habits, knowing deep down you are lying to yourself. And make no mistake, denial is far more common because freedom is terrifying. When there are no excuses left, when there is nothing left to blame, you must face the one truth. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You are the creator of your own reality. The prison without walls. For years, you believed the world was holding you back, that you were trapped. That if only circumstances were different, if only people believed in you, if only you had the right opportunities, then you could finally rise. But now you see the truth. The prison was never outside of you. It was always in your mind. The invisible chains, the fear, the self-doubt. These were the only things keeping you small. And now that you have seen them for what they are, there is no going back. Because the door to your prison was never locked. It was only waiting for you to walk through it. The ultimate power, becoming the one who creates Jung, called this process individuation. The integration of the full self. The moment you become the architect of your own existence. Not someone who waits. Not someone who obeys. But someone who creates. The one who does not ask for permission. The one who does not fear rejection. The one who is no longer bound by the limits imposed by others. This is why the world resists those who break free. Because once you taste true power, the power to shape your own destiny, you become untouchable. No system, no expectation, no force can control you anymore. You are no longer living by default. You are writing your own script, and that is what terrifies people the most. The last test: will you answer the call? Here is where most turn back, because to step into this new reality means sacrificing something: the comfort of being small. Most people would rather live a predictable, controlled existence than face the terrifying vastness of their true potential. They would rather stay in the prison, because at least there, the walls feel safe. But you have seen what lies beyond the illusion. You have felt the pull of something greater. And now, the question remains: will you answer the call, or will you run from it? Because here is the truth most will never face. If you wait until you feel ready, you never will. If you wait for the fear to disappear, it never will. If you wait for permission, no one will give it to you. The only way to claim your power is to step forward despite the fear, to destroy every excuse, to obliterate every hesitation, and to walk unflinching into the unknown. The final truth: why this journey never ends. But here is the final, most powerful realization. The moment you embrace your potential, the journey does not end. It begins. Because power is not a destination. It is a constant battle, one that must be fought every day. Every morning, you will have to choose between comfort and greatness. Every night, you will have to silence the voice that tells you to wait. Every moment, you will have to decide whether to rise or shrink. And this is why so few ever make it. Because freedom is not given. It is earned every single day. The choice is yours. So now, you stand at the edge. Behind you, the life you were conditioned to accept. Ahead of you, the unknown, the terrifying, the limitless. You know the truth now. You have always been powerful. You have always had a choice. The question is, will you take it?